Is there any doubt in Yahweh's mind as to who rightly owns the land of Israel and whom he has determined to live there? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 2 of the double Torah portion, Bahar and Bachuchatai. Let's continue in the book of Vayikra, or Leviticus, chapter 25. In this chapter, we began to discuss the Shabbat, which leads us then to a discussion of the Shemitah. More on that in a moment. Let's remember, Yah chose Abraham out of all of the individuals on the face of the earth to come to the land of Israel, to walk with him, to look for a city whose builder and maker was Elohim, to receive the covenant of his promise, of his fruit bearing, of his nation building, which was passed on to his son Yitzhak, or Isaac, and to his grandson Yaakov, or Jacob. Out of Yaakov, we have the 12 tribes who came out of the furnace of affliction in Mitzrayim, or Egypt. They are now in the wilderness, as this Torah portion goes, and they are being taught how to be the people of Elohim, how to become a nation called Israel. They are to inherit the land of Israel, all of it. We still haven't seen anyone called Israel possess all of the covenant land yet. It's about to happen. But as they possess the land, Yah wants them to understand you're not here as slaves. You're not here as serfs or sharecroppers, but you are to be heirs. And while you belong to me, while we belong to him, while he owns us, he owns the land, he owns the world and all those who dwell in it. We all belong to him, yet he calls us sons and daughters, and he tells us that we are going to be heirs of this promised land. Now, Yeshua is the heir, and we are joint heirs with him. And for that, we can be very thankful. We have a bright and promising future. No matter what's going on in the earth currently, that's not the end of all things. Yah still has some things to surprise us with. So let's continue. The mark of those that belong to Yah is Shabbat. Now, you can be a part of denominational groups and Hebraic root congregations, and you can sign conversion cards and give your tithe and your offerings. You can even observe the feast days, but the foundational truth is that we are Shabbat keepers. It marks those that belong to him. Now we can argue incessantly with those who observe the first day and with those of us who observe the seventh day. Let Yah straighten that out. But Shabbat is Shabbat is Shabbat. And not only do we have the weekly Shabbat, but we have a Shabbat of years, the Shemitah. Now imagine this. For 6 years, we sow, we reap, we store, and we enjoy that which our land has produced. We bring our first fruits, we bring our gifts and our offerings, we share with those that are poor. We round off the corners of our fields, and we allow those who have nowhere to reap to come and to participate in the harvest, and life is good. And we do so for 6 years. However, in the 6th year, there is a super overabundance of the crop that comes in, and on the 7th year, we plant nothing. The 6th year will feed us beyond the 6th year harvest throughout the 7th year, and then when we sow in the next year, you can call it the first year of the next cycle or the 8th year of counting, then until that crop comes in, that 6th year harvest is still feeding us. Try that somewhere. Can you imagine that in the land of Israel, in our modern day time, that our brother Yehuda there would observe a Shemitah cycle. And in the 6th year, that they received this super great abundant harvest. And they sow nothing in the 7th year. And yet they do not go hungry. There's plenty of food. Everyone is fed. They sow in the next year's cycle, the first year of the next 7-year cycle, or the 8th year if we are to count it that way. And the world would send their scientists, their environmentalists, they would send their extension agents from the local tech colleges. The world would investigate. How are you doing this? What kind of seed are you using? What kind of watering system are you using? Exactly how are you doing this? Whatever evidence they thought they would find, they bring it back to their native lands. And there, where they serve other gods or no gods at all, or men as gods, they would try to implement this plan and people would starve. Only in the land of Israel, only by a people who are in covenant with the Elohim of Israel, and only as it is done exactly as Yah requires, does this system work. Not only does the Shemitah take place every 7-year cycle, but after 7-year cycles, the 49th year, there is such an abundance that is given in the 48th year that they eat in year 49 and in year 50. And then they celebrate the Yovel for 2 consecutive years. Nothing is sown. There is plenty of food. People are not hungry. There is a resetting of all indebtedness. Loans are no longer out there. Prisoners are released. Land returns back to the original family who owned it. Everything is reset. And people start all over again. Matter of fact, the years leading up to, one would only lease out the number of crops available from a particular piece of land as the value of that land. If it's 6 years until the Shemitah, then there's six harvests that can be had. If we're running up to the Yovel, they would calculate the number of years up to the Yovel, less the Shemitah years, and determine how many crops could be had and what the value of the land was. Things were supposed to be done with just weights and measures. This is kingdom life. This is the way it's going to be in the kingdom. Are we going back to an agricultural society? Are we going to be a super tech society? Are we going to be something unimagined? The answer is probably yes. It could be some sense of combination of all of those things. But whatever the kingdom holds for us and however society is to be ordered, it will be based on the Torah. It will be Torah obedient, compliant. It will be Torah founded, and it will be administered over by the living Torah himself, Yeshua the Messiah. And the world will have shalom. Can you imagine the world being at peace? Now, there may be wars to bring about that peace. There may be upheavals and violence in order to accomplish it. We don't know exactly how many wars are going to be fought, but we know this. Yeshua is going to rule and to reign with equity, with fairness, with tzedakah and mishpat, with righteousness and with justice. And there is going to be shalom in the earth. What I find interesting here is that everything is based on Shabbat. You see, the Shemitah year is a Shabbat year. The land will have its rest. Yah is asking you and I to observe rest. In our run and gun society, it is hard for us, even on those days that we call Shabbat, and for those that we call Shabbat keepers, to actually stop, to rest, to enter into his rest, and to find our portion with him. Let us strive to observe now the weekly Shabbat, that we may observe the kingdom Shabbats and all of their fullness in the years that is yet to come. Until tomorrow, shalom.